Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we're going to be looking at if our dead relatives can see us. And from the research I've done in the Bible, I'd personally say no. They're actually not watching us at all. King Solomon told us in Ecclesiastes chapter 9 verse 5 that when someone goes to the grave, there's no part of them that can remember or do anything really. That verse says, "For the living know that they shall die, but the dead know not anything. Neither have they any more a reward, for the memory of them is forgotten." Not only is every part of our physical body dead, but there's nothing that can leave our body upon death. That means that there's no separate part of our body called the soul. There are places in the Bible that have used the word soul, but they weren't referring to something that can leave our body and go live elsewhere. For example, in Genesis chapter 2 verse 7, it says, "And the Lord God formed man of the dust of the ground, and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul." If a soul can be described as living, it can also be dead, which we can see from Ezekiel chapter 18 verses 4 and 20. And when something dies, Ecclesiastes chapter 9 verses 5 and 6 applies, and it has no capabilities of thought and sight. One interesting thing, though, in that Ezekiel account, that it says, "The soul that sinneth, it shall die." Replace the words person or body or man with soul, and it means the same thing. The Bible does it often, taking the word person or man and using soul instead. For example, in Genesis chapter 46 verse 26, it says, "All the souls that came with Jacob into Egypt, which came out of his loins, besides Jacob's wives, all the souls were 66. If you replace soul with people, it means the exact same thing. Our body and our soul are one and the same, and the words can be used interchangeably. What keeps us alive is the breath of life, mentioned in Genesis chapter 2 verse 7, and in Ecclesiastes chapter 12 verse 7, where it says, "Then shall the dust return to the earth as it was, and the spirit shall return unto God who gave it." The spirit here is not our specific person, but the breath of life that's the same for every human being, which keeps us alive. When God gives it to us, we live. When he takes it away, we die. Now, this video wouldn't be complete at all if we didn't talk about what happened with Saul and the witch of Endor in 1 Samuel chapter 28 verses 5 to 20. What that woman contacted wasn't the soul or spirit or ghost of the dead Samuel, but rather demons that were cosplaying as him. Let's analyze the text real quick. In verse 11, Saul asks the woman to bring up Samuel. In verse 13, Saul asks what she saw, and she replied that she saw gods descending out of the earth. It would already be a big stretch to call Samuel a god, but there were multiple of them? That couldn't possibly be Samuel at all. And then in verse 14, she described the costume that the demons put on, which was identical to Samuel's. And then there's this, "And Saul perceived that it was Samuel." The text didn't say that it was Samuel, but that Saul thought or figured that it was him. From what we've already seen, Samuel at that time was dead and didn't have a working brain or separate soul entity to contact, so they couldn't have possibly be talking about him. Rather, they were speaking to demons who can take the appearance of someone else. Angels have appeared as men before, like those who visited Abraham in Genesis chapter 18 verses 1 to 16. So it's no big feat for them. Usually, relatives are said to watch from heaven. The problem with that is that the righteous, excluding the apostles, won't be going to heaven. It was Jesus Christ who told us that the righteous portion is the earth in Matthew chapter 5 verse 5, where he said, "Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth." And King Solomon told us that the earth will last forever in Ecclesiastes chapter 1 verse 4, so there'd be no point for the earth to be around if nobody would be living on it. The reason why the righteous aren't going to heaven was that God never wanted them there, but on the earth instead, according to Isaiah chapter 45 verse 18. And that verse says, "For thus saith the Lord that created the heavens, God himself that formed the earth and made it. He hath established it. He created it not in vain. He formed it to be inhabited. I am the Lord, and there is none else." Therefore, our dead relatives can't see us, and aren't watching us from anywhere right now. Instead, we'll see them on the day of resurrection, as Paul told us in 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, verses 13 and 14. And those verses say, "But I would not have you to be ignorant, brethren, concerning them which are asleep, that ye sorrow not, even as others which have no hope. For if we believe that Jesus died and rose again, even so them also which sleep in Jesus will God bring with him." The resurrection process was described for us in Ezekiel chapter 37, verses 1 to 14, where it told us how the bones were joined with flesh, and God's breath of life will be given to the dead once more, so they can live for an eternity, as promised by Jesus Christ in John chapter 3, verse 16. So, even though our dead relatives can't see us, we can see them again later on. But that is the end of this video. If you liked it, you can always support my little channel here by clicking the like button, the subscribe button, and that notification bell so you'll be notified of when I post again. Have a great day, and I'd love to see you soon.